Now to the reaction of the president's tweet yesterday about Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, that the New York Democrat, quote, would come to my office begging for campaign contributions not so long ago and would do anything for them. And he put that in parentheses. Noah, I'd like to point out that's different than his other tweets. That's not like the other tweets.
Mika, don't get in the weeds yet. You're talking about tweets.
I'm not going to
finish down the story, then Noah can get
whether
in.
or not there was sexual innuendo here. There was. And here is Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who I was really hoping would tell the truth. She did not. Here she is at the briefing yesterday.
The president said today that Senator Gillibrand would do anything for campaign contributions. Many people see this as a sexual innuendo. What is the president suggesting?
I think that the president is very obvious. This is the same sentiment that the president has expressed many times before when he has exposed the corruption of the entire political system. In fact, he's used similar terminology many times when talking about politicians of both parties, both men and women, and certainly in his campaign to drain the swamp. The system is clearly broken. It's clearly rigged for special interest, and this president is someone that can't be bought, and it's one of the reasons that he's president today.
What is he alleging would happen behind closed doors with her?
He's not alleging anything. He's talking about the way that our system functions as it is, that politicians repeatedly beg for money. That's not something new, and that comment, frankly, isn't something new. If you look back at past comments that this president has made, he's used that same terminology many times in reference to men. There's no way that this is sexist at all.
Is Gillibrand owed an apology for the misunderstanding from the president's tweet this morning? Because many, including the senator, thinks that it's about sexual innuendos.
I think only if your mind is in the gutter would you have read it that way. He's obviously talking about political partisan games that people often play and the broken system that he's talked about repeatedly.
I want to know how she does that, and where the chief of staff is, and where anybody else in the White House is this morning, or where they were after that tweet went out yesterday. The president should have taken it down. The president should have apologized if he didn't take it down. He should have apologized for hurting Senator Kirsten Gillibrand's feelings at the very least. But he should have apologized for being a sexist pig, for sexually harassing on Twitter, for using sex to denigrate women. And again, I mentioned yesterday, the president is obsessed with women, especially some women, especially women who go on television and have a voice, or especially women who serve in Congress or in the Senate who use their voices. Any woman that stands up against him, he is obsessed with. He has some special problem with women. And the women around him, his wife, who has a platform against cyberbullying, that's a joke. That is the saddest thing I've ever seen in this White House, ever in my life. And his daughter, who came to Washington to work for the president and develop a platform for women, go home. Go home. You're doing nothing if you stand by this president. And you should think of the country rather than your brand. And I'll tell you right now, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I feel sorry for you. I've started a hashtag support for Sarah, and get your mind out of the gutter. I seriously support you in your quest for truth, in your quest for goodness, in your quest for love of country, because you haven't made it there yet. And I'm not just talking about the women in the White House. I'm talking about the entire White House, all the men around this president. Do you really go home to your wives and daughters and say this president knows what he's doing? This president stands up for women? Do you really do that? Your wives should kick you out. Here's Steve Schmidt.
She doesn't have a difficult job. She has an easy job. Tell the truth to the American people. She's an assistant to the President of the United States. She swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States, which she disgraces every day as she serially lies hour after hour after hour every day. And it bears mentioning, just for a moment, how abnormal this is. The assault, the constant assault on the dignity and the majesty of the office of the President of the United States. And this is exactly the reason the President of the United States is not welcome in the United Kingdom, because his presence standing next to Her Majesty the Queen is such an affront to her dignity that it has united the fractious parties of Great Britain in opposition to his setting foot on British soil because of stuff like this.
And we will be right back.